In this lesson, we are going to look at how to solve quadratic equations using the method of completing the square. Okay, now here we have a quadratic format is equal to 0. So now what we are going to do is, before we look at examples, we are going to look at how we can make this formula, the quadratic formula, from the quadratic format of equation using the same method of completing the square. So now here, what we are going to do is, or the first step that we need to make sure of is, we need to make sure that the coefficient of x squared must be equal to 1. So anything in front of x squared must be removed. So we are going to remove our a. We divide by our a, even here, a, also here, a. So that when we cancel, we have x squared plus b, x over a plus c over a into 0 is 0. Then upon reaching here, we are going to take our c over a to the other side. X squared plus bx over a is equal to, this changes from positive to negative, c over a. Now here, the other step that we need to do is, we need to find the half of b. So in our case, since the coefficient of x raised to the power 1 is in a fraction format, what you have to do is, you need to multiply the denominator by 2. So a times 2, we get our 2a, then x. So upon reaching here, also you need to now get the coefficient of x and square it. After square it, you need to add it to both sides of the equation. So what you are saying is, you need to get b over 2a, you square it. After squaring it, you need to add it to both sides of our equation. Then from there, we are going to simplify the right side of our equation. We keep our left side the same. So we are going to expand b over 2a squared. So b over 2a squared is same as b over 2a times b over 2a. So if we multiply b times b, we have b squared, 2 times 2, 4, a times a squared. So if this is expanded, we get b squared over 4a squared. So we can still simplify the right side by keeping now the left side must be kept the same. So here we are going to find the lowest common denominator of a and 4a squared, and is 4a squared. So we can divide 4a squared divided by a. So 1a will cancel, giving us 4a. So now we multiply by the numerator, negative c, which is now negative 4ac, plus now 4a squared into 4a squared is 1 times b squared, that is just b squared. Then now, after we are done simplifying the right side, we have to open the brackets like this on the left side. So now here we have to be careful. So what we are going to do is, here we just need to get 1x. Then from there, we need to consider the sign that we have before b over 2a, which is plus. Then b over 2a squared, you just get 1. So this gives us b over 2a. So this is what you do on the left side of the equation. Then here we can now rearrange where the b squared begins over 4ac divided by 4a squared. After reaching this step, we can now find the square root of both sides. Okay, so we can see that this square root will cancel with the 2, giving us x plus b over 2a is equal to. So here we can see that the square root is also affecting the denominator of the equation. Now here we can only find the square root of 4a squared, so the numerator will not change, so the square root will just remain on the numerator part. So here we have b squared over 4ac divided by the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of a squared is just a. So after reaching this stage, now we can move our positive b over to a to the right side. X is equal to, here we are going to have now minus b over 2a, then plus or minus, we know that the square root has those two signs. So after now reaching here, we are going to find the lowest common denominator of 2a, and we know that the lowest common denominator of 2a is just 2a. 2a into 2a is 1 times b, that is just b, plus or minus. Then if we divide 2a into 2a is 1 times the root of b squared minus 4ac is equal to a. So we can see we have this quadratic equation. So this is how the quadratic equation was derived. Now let's move on. Let's now look at examples where numbers are used. So the first example, we have x squared plus 4x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now for this particular example, we can see that the coefficient of x squared is already 1. So what we are just going to do is we need to move our positive 3 to the other side. So x squared plus 4x is equal to minus 3. Then upon reaching here, we need to find now the half of the coefficient of x. So we divide 2 into 4 is 2, then we square it and add it to both sides of our equation. So we get plus 2 squared, even here plus 2 squared. From here we can simplify the right side. So we know that 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is giving us a 4. So if we add negative 3 plus 4 is just positive 1. Now after reaching this stage, we can now open the brackets. Okay, so what we are going to do is the same thing we did. We get 1x, then the sign here is positive, so plus, then we get 1 2 like this. After reaching here, now we can find the square root of both sides. So we can see that we can cancel. We have x plus 2. The square root of positive 1 is positive or negative 1. So now we can separate our equation into 2. So x plus 2 is equal to positive 1, or x plus 2 is equal to negative 1. So we're going to move this to the other side, giving us now x is equal to 1 minus 2, which is now x is equal to negative 1. Then also this one, these 2 will shift to the other side, giving us negative 1 minus 2, which is our x is equal to negative 3. Okay, let's have another example. So feel free to pause the video and give it a try. So we have our example 2, where we have x squared minus 4x minus 12 is equal to 0. So we can see that the coefficient of x squared is already 1, so we can just leave it like that. Minus 4x, so we are going to shift this negative 12 to the other side, giving us plus 12. After reaching this stage, let's now find the half of -4. So you can just ignore the negative. So half of 2 is 2, then you square it and add it to both sides of the equation. So squared is equal to 12 plus 2 squared. So we have x squared minus 4x plus 2 squared is equal to 12 plus 2 times 2 is 4. So we can see that we can add 12 plus 4 is 16. Now after we've simplified the right side of our equation, we can now open two brackets. So we get 1x here, then the sign is minus, then we get also 1, 2. Then from there we find the square root of this side and also the square root of that side. So this and this goes. X minus 2 is equal, the square root of 16 is positive or minus 4. Then we can now write these into two equations. So one will have plus 4. The other one will be x minus 2 is equal to -4. So we can now move our -2 to the other side, giving us 4 plus 2. So the first value of x is 6. Then also here we move this to the other side. We have -4 plus 2. So we can see that we have different sign. We can subtract and get the sign from the bigger number. Okay, now let's have another example. So this time we are going to have, third one is x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0. So we move our constant to the other side. So x squared minus 2x is equal to positive 15. From there we need to divide 2 by 2. So 2 into 2 is 1. Now we square it and also add it to both sides of our equation. So 15 plus 1 squared. So x squared minus 2x plus 1 squared is equal to, here 1 times 1 is 1. So you can see that 15 plus 1 is 16. So now after simplifying the right side, we can now open our brackets and square it. So here we said we get 1x here, then the sign is minus, then also we write 1 there. Then from there we can write our square root on both sides. So this cancels, we get x minus 1 is equal to plus or minus 4. So x minus 1 is equal to positive 4, or x minus 1 is equal to -4. So we can now move our -1 to the other side, giving us 4 plus 1. The first value of x is 5. Here we can now move this to the other side, giving us plus 1, which is now our x is equal to -3. Okay, let's have a different example where the x squared has a number. So this one now we need to make x squared with a coefficient of 1. So we are going to divide. Here we divide by 2, and also here we divide by 2, we divide by 2, we divide by 2. So that we make the coefficient of x squared is equal to 1. So here we have 7 over 2 x plus 3 over 2. 2 into 0 is just 0. Then from there we can now move our 3 over 2 to the other side, giving us x squared plus 7 over 2 is equal to -3 over 2. From there we need to find the half of this one. So we just said in a case where you have a fraction, if this is the fraction, you just multiply the denominator by 2. So this becomes 7 over 4. Then also you square it. Even here, minus 3 over 2 plus 7 over 4. You square it. Then we can now simplify the right side. So here we have negative 3 over 2 plus, so this is same as 7 over 4 times 7 over 4. So 7 times 7 is 49 over 4 times 4, that is 16. So we get 49 over 16. So let's bring down our left side here. So now we can find the lowest common denominator. So the lowest common denominator for 2 and 16 is 16. Then we can divide 2 into 16 is 8, multiplied by negative 3 is negative 24, plus 16 into 16 is 1 times 49, that is 49. So we can now continue. X squared plus 7 over 2 x plus 7 over 4 squared. So we can now subtract the numerator. We get 25 over 16. From there, now after we've simplified the right side, we can now open the brackets the usual way. So we have x plus 7 over 4. So I'm sure by now you've gotten the pattern. So is equal to now 25 over 16. So we introduce the square root on both sides. So we can see that now we get x plus 7 over 4 is equal to, the square root is affecting both the numerator and the denominator. So the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 16 is 4. So this will be plus or minus. So now we can have two equations. The first equation is x plus 7 over 4 plus 5 over 4, or x plus 7 over 4 is equal to minus 5 over 4. So move this to the other side, giving us x is equal to 5 over 4 minus 7 over 4. So no need of finding the common denominator. We already have the common denominator, so we can just subtract the numerator. So 5 minus 7 is negative 2 over 4, and if we reduce this, same as negative 1 over 2. Then here we also move this to the other side, giving us negative 5 over 4. Then also this will give us negative 7 over 4. So we can see that we can add the numerator since the two numbers has the same sign. So negative 5, negative 7 is negative 12 over 4. So 4 into negative 12 is negative 3. So this is how you can solve a quadratic equation using the method of completing the square. So now that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so.